You've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
Oh, my.
So Colin, many times an intro gives a look into the year the movie was made. You know, it gives an intro into like the person that made it, kind of the time that it was made. This usually works for our sort of thing. But today I kind of wanted to introduce this movie based on the way that I remember seeing it first.
Okay.
This was back in the days, vaguely, when like Netflix was sending out DVDs, Blockbuster was still kind of a thing, you know. It's all a haze now, but I remember watching it one of two fucking ways. One was like while watching TV in the early morning hours of our freezing cold garage, sound low as to not wake my fucking parents, because I absolutely was not supposed to be up that late. Or while catching a peek at what my dad was watching in his bedroom, hoping to see a bit of one of those gangster shows he used to watch. I just remember seeing a scene where there are these kids, they're running across the beach, they're like kicking up sea foam, and there's this trilly, bright, kind of ominous electric piano thing going on over the soundtrack. I remember being uncomfortable watching it, and I would hold on to that feeling for years, just kind of deep down inside.
Okay.
I came across this video years ago that mentioned it, and found myself like a shitty VHS rip of the movie, and was surprised to see that that was, in fact, what I had remembered for all those fucking years. I learned that it was basically impossible to get a physical copy anymore due to various things that we'll get into when we actually start talking about this movie. And that it also wasn't like available on any streaming services, even like the really skunky ones. Not long after finding it, you and me started our very first episode of this show on RoboCop.
Yeah.
And at that point, I realized some point in the future, I gotta talk about this movie on this show. Somehow, somewhere, I gotta talk about it, because it's just been a brainworm for me forever.
It's about 4 years in the making.
About 4 years, something like that in the making, yeah. And without any further ado, I think it's about time that you just go ahead and break into it. Colin, here is today's film.
We're watching the Hunger Games, people. So fucking
It's so obscure. Don't.
So. Alright, I gotta. Oh, you put tape on it this time.
Did I not put tape on it last time?
I don't remember. I just remember it being a nightmare of fucking paper and confetti and.
Fuck you.
Alright. Here it goes. No clue.
Show it to the camera. Today we are watching the 1969 film Last Summer. This movie is based on a book by the same name by Evan Hunter. Direction and writing is done by a married couple, Frank and Eleanor Perry, respectively. Our main cast is filled out by Barbara Hershey. We got Richard Thomas, Bruce Davidson, and the often overlooked Catherine Burns in her first role on proper silver screen film. It's kind of an intimate character study packaged to be like a coming of age film, or like a sort of darker teen comedy sort of thing. Or not teen comedy, like a teen drama sort of thing.
So American Graffiti, I got you. Mm-hmm. Doing it again, people.
Whether you fucking like it or not. Colin, by any chance have you heard anything about this?
I've heard this title before. You don't hide your movies very well, so I've seen this on your shelf with no context a couple times, which is fucking fine.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. No, I really know nothing. Yeah, I know this is a bootleg.
Oh, yeah.
I can very much feel that.
That's all prop for all purposes.
Which is completely fine. I'm not complaining about that.
This is just one of many of Frank Perry's like early films that would struggle as far as getting like post silver screen availability, right? So like moving on to, they would all kind of get stuck on like VHS, and where most of them, stuff like David and Lisa and Ladybug would eventually, even decades later, get some kind of digital release on like Blu-ray or something.
Yeah.
This one, to this day, is still not available physically. Hilariously, in a sort of like cosmic irony, right now, as we're filming this today at about 3 p.m. in California, they are showing this movie for the first time again in, like, actually on the big screen.
Yeah.
To announce that they're releasing a physical copy of this movie on Blu-ray and possibly 4K.
Good.
So I'm
Impatient piece of shit. Could wait 4 years, but could not wait a little longer. What the fuck's wrong with you?
It's we've had situations like this where we've gotten all set up and we're all ready. The month comes along and, like, eventually you get news. Oh fuck! Here soon enough, there's gonna be a new thing.
Tony, the next movie we're watching that you don't know what it is, there was this whole clusterfuck issue to where I went and I purchased a Blu-ray. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, we're going to have to watch it on this scung quality. And then it was announced, oh, well, there's maybe rumoring going to be a version of this movie on 4K released from a boutique company. And then that boutique company wouldn't give a date. So I'm like, probably just the Blu-ray. Mm-hmm. And then not only did it come, but then it eventually just got released and then got shipped to me, and I had several months beforehand, so now I just have a Blu-ray. And because of the way we record things, I thought, well, I'll just still use the Blu-ray to be able to record stuff.
We figured it out.
We figured out how to record it. We figured out how to record the 4K discs. So we're boobs.
Anyways, I think we'll just go right on ahead and jump into it. Everybody, this is Frank Perry's 1969 film, Last Summer. Thanks for getting in the shot.
Last Summer.
I can't see shit.
It is of children that you must speak today. And the man said, your children are not your children. They are born of Aquarius. And the only path they know is to the stars. They come from you, but belong only to themselves.
You all seem like such good friends. We are.
We performed bird surgery together. We've drawn truth serum together. We've told each other awful things about ourselves. It sort of creates a bond between people.
And though you may give them your kingdom, their thoughts are their own. For it is to them that you bequeath the future. The future that you cannot visit.
I love you both.
Ah, she's just a kid.
No, there's so few people we can trust.
Careful. Terrific. I trust you.
I trust you. I trust you.
Trust each other.
When last summer began, they were children. When it ended, they were something else. Today's child dies. Tomorrow's man is born. Frank Perry, creator of David and Lisa, has once again discovered a cast of young talents, and once again he has made an unforgettable motion picture based on the provocative novel by Evan Hunter. It is called Last Summer.
All right, so we're back from watching our second entry into these decades of darkness. Mm-hmm. Colin, would you like to take a step out of the Fire Island sun and give us a plot synopsis of 1969's Last Summer?
So Last Summer tells the tale of three people, but primarily from the perspective of two horny, pubescent teenage boys whom very clearly have their own huge amounts of inexperience, lack of understanding in the world, and they run upon a young woman named Sandy who is on Fire Island, and she has found and is, air quotes, taking care of a small seagull on the ground who is on the verge of dying. And they sort of, whether it's a sexual awakening, I'm not really sure I'd really call it that, or have some kind of, I guess, sexual flourishing with this person. They all tell each other secrets, hers being of which that she was sexually assaulted by some sort of adult father figure, people of which we see very little of in this movie, and I think that's a very intentional framing device.
Yeah.
And this is sort of the story of her need to possess and control people to get some kind of semblance of control back for herself and her lives, like it often is with assault victims. And they meet another young girl, and she is very clearly a bit more conservative, a bit more unsure of her self-confidence. There is some, childlike romance between people. Some fucked up events happen with a computer dating app equivalent of the 60s. And then it all just kind of goes down from there in the last 20 or so minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of all like I said, like a teen drama slash, finding oneself sort of film.
It's coming of age.
Coming of age, yeah.
I'm not sure. I feel like that's more of a marketing ploy. If you're gonna put that on
it has like the hijinks of those sort of things, but it's all kind of steeped in this edge, right?
Yeah, it's a drama. I would call it that.
I should ask, how did you like Last Summer?
I think Last Summer is really, really great. I'm still reeling a bit, not necessarily from how much the ending is in your face, but how much I think the ending does what a lot of films from this era does.
Okay.
Which is how necessary it is.
Yeah.
Because there has been a big talk in the past, I want to say 10 to 15 years, especially among female scholars of film, trying to decide how necessary is the rape scene in cinema. Okay. Is this something we should be exploring in that? And especially if it's being just done for shock value, what is it? Now, for me, this has always been a complicated thing, because I think there are lots of films with lots of scenes in them that could be considered rape or are just outright rape scenes that I think are thematically poignant to the film, right? And I'm sorry for just skipping to the end, but this is, sort of fresh in my mind.
Yeah, it's the very last thing you see before we get right here on this couch.
So, for me, watching this, it's not that the movie makes me feel gross, which it does. That's not what bothers me about it. I'm more so just asking, or I guess not asking, it sort of feels like we're watching the ending of the movie not leading to an inevitable fucking conclusion for what happens, even if maybe it is foreshadowed. It kind of just feels like what a lot of bad rape scenes are in movies, which is we didn't necessarily have a good way to end this story or an interesting way to end it, so they kind of did just end it in the most dark way possible to leave viewers feeling a bit shaken.
I would kind of I would push back a little bit on that to say that, like you said, they do foreshadow this whole thing. The events,
but foreshadowing does not necessarily make it to where, okay, well, is this still? I don't know. That doesn't mean it's good, I guess.
Yeah, no. I'll just get into it real quick. That obviously they set up that all these sorts of events are going to happen in the film. They mirror what happens with the seagull with Rhoda. That's the big trick of the film. The idea is that they're both kind of innocent, that they both kind of don't really know. They're not coming at the world from the same place that these kids are coming at. They're older, they kind of want to prove themselves, and they're kind of going down this dark path in life due to negligence or outright abuse from their family figures.
Okay.
They're just that sort of thing. That's the direction they're going. And they show you all of this stuff happening step by step by step with the seagull, where they take it in, they nurse it, and then they start to try and train it, and then when it inevitably bites back, they just smash its head in with a fucking rock out in the very forest where all that shit happens to Rhoda. And the whole series of events with Rhoda is just the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I understand that. And I get that. And I understand that that's the point of what it's trying to get.
Yeah.
That being said, though, I'm looking at this from the way it's shot, from the filmmaking techniques used, and then a film a couple years later with a very similarly shot rape scene that would happen. The Last House on the Left, which was Wes Craven's first movie.
Okay.
It's the language being used to communicate the scene. This film, for the most part, I brought this up while we were watching it. This film kind of takes a lot of cinematic cues from a lot of Bergman stuff. I have a couple in my head. I'll put posters up for those right now next to me just to kind of show you the kind of films in particular. And then like modern day things that would take influence from either this or I would assume Bergman. Is a movie like Challengers, which I do think takes a lot of similar thematic angles and goes in a much different direction with it. And then there's stuff like a film by Truffaut, Jules and Jim, which has a much different ending to it. That's French New Wave stuff.
Yeah.
But while this movie is very independently shot, it is taking a lot of that cinematic language from a lot of those, specifically Bergman and French New Wave stuff. And then at the very end, when they're doing that rape scene, it suddenly entirely switches its visual vocabulary, and it becomes an exploitation movie. And as someone who really loves exploitation movies, it's a very difficult balance to hit.
Yeah.
It can be well set up, it can be done, and you could still even end the movie with a rape scene. But I can't help but feel that the cinematography and the way it was shot was exploitative towards the actors, even if the actors weren't necessarily being exploited on screen. And I don't mean that in the way that the characters are doing it. The camera physically itself feels like it's doing that. We obviously can't show much of that on YouTube. I'm not sure I'd even want to show much of it on YouTube just because there's a lot of explicit nudity and a lot of explicit, really awful shit going on. But it is something that it can be a good story and it can be nasty, but adding that visual element of film and visuals and like the camera physically showing stuff, you do need to be very delicate with that. You know, we've talked about Lolita quite a bit on this show. I think that book is amazing, and I do like the Kubrick version, but I am also of the opinion that, you know, including the Adrian Lyne version, I don't think that should ever be adapted into a film or a visual medium ever again.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a book that either needs that, and I also don't think it's a book that it's a story worth telling in that. So to me, the visual language that it's kind of using to show how it's like shot, lots of quick cutting, lots of just close-ups of body parts and everything, it feels like the director is trying to make the rape scene titillating. And I find that to be a little gross, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could see it that way.
Yeah.
The way I've seen it is this whole movie, they're grooming Rhoda, basically. One action after another, they kind of force her to, like, do things that she doesn't want to do, to meet up with people that she doesn't want to meet up with. And just by having 3 people present, they just kind of, like, outnumber her. And the way that humans' brains work, you can be like, oh, 100% confident in your ideas that something is wrong, but then unwilling to challenge it if just enough people tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
You know, the very first segment where she has like a very strong opinion about something is like, oh, leave that bird alone, let it go. That's horrible that you're doing it to this bird. But they basically they just bully her out of it.
Yeah.
Because this is her project, this is this situation. They can just steamroll her opinions and get her under their sort of wing.
Yeah.
And it's a movie all about suspense. Like, how far are they going to take this? Is it really going to go to the place that you're going to? And, you know, I don't want to call it necessarily a horror film in that fashion, because it doesn't really fit the aspects of a horror film. But it's really, really suspenseful in the sense that you're going to eventually get to this point. There's no jump scare. There's no, like, grand fucking monster coming out of nowhere. But I don't know, that last scene kind of acts like finally cutting off the tension and leaving you there thinking, what was this all fucking for?
And I guess, like, what I'm saying to you is, and it feels like sort of you're not getting what I'm trying to get across. All that stuff leading up to that works. It's all just an execution of the scene itself that I have a problem with. You know, I've watched a lot of exploitation since I've been like 16. It's a genre I'm genuinely very much interested in, and I think it's an interesting sort of response to the general public reacting to the Hollywood system. and censorship and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know. It's like, as much as I understand in concept maybe it could work, I don't find the overall execution of the final rape scene. It's not even just a thing of like it being tasteful or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just think it is something that is maybe voyeuristically gazing upon the victim in a way to where you are put in the POV of the rapist too much. And I think maybe that kind of undercuts the horror of what you're trying to get across. To me, that's very much like if you're trying to get towards what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And because I brought this up earlier, I think the film does a good job of it in earlier sequences where you have that POV shot to where she's being bullied by the three of them while she has the life jacket on, while she's being taught to swim. I don't necessarily think the whole thing should have been in POV, but I definitely think there is a better, maybe more delicate way to shoot that isn't going to be so exploitative towards like the character and act sort of on the audience's emotions like that. Because all of filmmaking, all of editing, all the way you shoot stuff, it is all about manipulating an audience's emotions. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I guess it is just kind of one of those things to where I watch this and it does kind of, as much as what you're saying makes sense, it does feel exploitative to me. And in a way that I don't think necessarily it sticks the landing all that well.
I think the idea, and maybe this is just that it's a bad idea and it didn't work in execution as well, is that like once again you're mirroring these scenes. Like she's getting bullied in the water and they're all fucking, and it's chaotic. It's a cut back and forth from all these different perspectives.
But when she's getting bullied in the water, it's cutting to like a wide. And I'm literally talking about the shot composition and the craft here.
Yeah.
It cuts back and forth between like a wide and then POV, a wide and then POV. Literally what we're getting in that rape scene is a bunch of close-ups of people's body parts and faces over and over again. That's like, that is exploitation rape scene 101.
Yeah. So you think it would be better if they more closely mirrored the that? Yeah, I think that would be better.
Yeah.
I once again, I think that you're right there, that it's that it can be poignant and that it's just executed a little like sloppily.
Sloppily, I think it has a lot of intent behind it, is the thing, I guess. It's not this idea that like I don't think what's being done isn't having a lot of thought put into it. I'm just saying I think for the time it was made, it was trying to capitalize on a very specific crowd of moviegoers that maybe, I don't know how to put this. I don't know much about the director of this film or anything, but there is sort of a thing that you want to do when, even if you're not necessarily trying to sell your movie, if you have a very specific vision for what you want to do, damn how people are offended, damn how people are uncomfortable, this is my artistic vision.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, maybe think for a couple seconds.
Yeah, people are going to interpret shit the way that they interpret it. And, you know, the editing process on this thing is what it is.
Yeah.
I think I'll get into fucking the absolute nightmare that is the editing process.
Because I also do want to be clear, this is not my only thoughts on the movie. It's just kind of like I do want to kind of get that out of the way, if that maybe colors anything of how I'm feeling about it.
No, we're talking about that and like just overall like the way this film has degraded over time. Originally, when it was produced, it was made and was given like an X rating for pretty obvious fucking reasons. And then they had to cut quite a bit of things out, or to change like dialogue. I think make some cuts here and there to get like just under the radar for an R rating, so that they would have some meaningful way to market it to people.
Yeah.
And then years later, you want to put this onto VHS, and you know the box office or the sales for that sort of thing is a little hard, so they edited it again to get like a PG rating. So there are versions of this film for home video that are floating around on the internet that are X-rated, ? R-rated definitely, and then a bunch of like PG stuff. So it's a little bit of a fucking clusterfuck to see which parts of which are actually in here. Like I said, we do not have the official release of of this movie to go by and say absolutely this is the way that this was, right?
And also keep in mind when something gets like brought to the MPAA,
Okay.
that's not necessarily going to be the final cut. Even if it got the rating they wanted to, you're still more than likely going to make cuts or additions to change that and maybe resubmit it again. But that is not necessarily going to be the version that you end up for sure releasing. So, you know, being like, oh, it got an X-rated. Well, of course they're going to cut stuff, but like, I don't know. Who knows what would have happened from then even till its final release, even if it had gotten an R.
Yeah.
What kind of changes were made. I do think sort of the idea of like, well, this is the true 100% cut of what the director's vision is. Well, like you're saying, you have to go for also like marketability, how this is going to sell. And especially during like, what is it, like the late 60s before the Hollywood New Wave fully hit and everything. Because like, Bonnie and Clyde had just come out like a year or two prior to this. You had
I
like
think it's a month away from like Easy Rider too.
yeah, you had like you had like The Graduate and everything around this era, and it is just kind of, it's not as simple, I guess, as well. This is for sure what the X-rated cut would have been, because the editing process is not as simple as we have this complete final cut. Someone like Kubrick, completely different kind of thing, was like editing 2001: A Space Odyssey and The Shining while it was still in theaters. The Shining's ending for the first opening weekend was completely gutted afterwards.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, and Empire Strikes Back, they added like 2 shots to the ending of that movie. It's a continual process. Yeah.
And then, so you have this version that's available for the general public, unless you're lucky enough to find, there are like a couple theaters. I think Tarantino's theater has like a private 16 millimeter print that's just been beat to shit over the years. So basically, this is all you've got for this movie up until basically like today and in the near future when they actually release a real fucking thing. And I guess I want to like ask you a question. How does seeing it in this format, as degraded as it is, color your feelings for the film, if at all?
So, it's weird because, like, I don't know, this is the only way I guess I've seen the movie. A lot of times my issues with, like, quality and how the movie's available will come down to is, like, this has VHS on it, which is less botherable to me than digital noise.
Okay.
I've seen a bunch of really awful streaming transfers that were copied over from a Blu-ray transfer from like 06 that is an upscale of a DVD. You know, the blacks in frame, I'm talking about like the color blacks will get like crushed completely and it'll just look fucking terrible. And a lot of times streaming from something like Fandango at home on a 1080p file, like you'll have like shots to where it's all dark and you'll sort of get like a shadowed silhouette, but that'll have like chunk pixels where it's supposed to be circular. Yeah. It's just something that's very noticeable to me. This is the only way, you know, I've watched it. It's the only way that I've seen of it. I have not seen like a better transfer available. So for me, it wasn't really that effective. But that being said, though, you know, I'm not going to linger on this too much more.
Yeah.
The scene, the rape scene towards the end that I guess does make me uncomfortable, what adds to the exploitation quality of it to my brain is that exploitation films are oftentimes available in super low quality and it has the fucking feeling of a smut film.
Yeah.
Because it is so just degraded to shit. So I think that adds to maybe something like, to some people, like you said, to where it feels like a horror film. Maybe that's a positive attribute to it. I don't know. I also just finished the movie like 20 minutes ago, so I'm not really too concrete on a lot of my thoughts and feelings on this stuff. I would like to listen to some other people talk about it on top of that. So when I watch something like this, I guess I'm just trying to preface, like, it's I guess not like a sensitivity issue, as much as I think there are right ways and maybe wrong ways to do this kind of stuff. And I don't think it's a straight mathematical equation.
Yeah.
But I definitely do think the quality of it, the degraded quality, does actually add to that. It's like when we saw Dolomite at the Hollywood, and it was a personal print of the guy who runs the Hollywood over in Portland, and it, it had turned salmon because that's just what happens to like celluloid, especially from the 70s after it degrades. You know, he walks up on stage. Just a heads up, the first 10 minutes of this movie are straight up gone. Here's a run up. And then he gave us like what the movie was. It's like that adds to the quality, and that's blaxploitation, and it's a similar fucking thing. Exploitation is a very difficult genre, I guess, to kind of talk about in that facet.
I was gonna get into like it kind of is in a way like really charming to see like any version of this movie survive in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
We've watched a couple movies now from the 1920s, and it is bizarre how well those things have been preserved after all the shit that has happened to them.
It's just luck.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just because those movies were shot on fucking nitrate. That shit's flammable as fuck.
Yeah.
As evidenced by the ending of Inglourious Bastards.
And then the version of this movie that we've got, it's just various VHSs. I wouldn't be surprised if this particular version we've watched has been like, oh, there's a chunk missing, but I got a chunk from fucking this other one that I can punch in there really quickly.
The opening and closing shots, while I'm not sure it's recorded off the TV, you can see the border of a CRT.
Which is just, it's really charming. And it kind of adds to this weird dream-like feeling about the whole thing, which you kind of hit the nail on the head, that a lot of people kind of view as I hate to use the phrase, you know, it gives a horror feeling due to its analog presence. I hate to jingle the fucking keys at the people on YouTube. Dinkle, dinkle, dangle, Markiplier.
Was that the bite of 87?
But it is very interesting to see how that colors like your idea, and that's really interesting what you have to say.
And it's not even like an analog horror thing as much. Like, it is just, I guess, the actual history of real snuff films and shit like that that have been sort of adopted by analog horror, taking that real life aspect and plugged into it. So I don't know.
I would love to talk about this again sometime when I got a 4K to compare it to, and just really see just how much. Because and also Colin discovered some shit. The version that we're watching, I always took for granted that this was like a 4:3 sort of thing.
No, because those are always the first questions if I'm watching something that's made after like 1955 and I see that it's an Academy like aspect ratio. I'm like, okay, are they doing this because of budgetary reasons? Are they doing this? And I just kept watching the cinematography and I'm like, is this cropped? And you're like, no, it's 4:3. And then I Google it for 2 seconds and it's supposed to be in 185:1, i.e. 16:9.
Yeah, it's just all the widescreen versions of it I've seen were just this kind of 4:3, but stretched out and nasty looking. So it's just one of those things. If we'll get into fucking general filmmaking, we want to take a break from every fucking thing, and do a little fun segment that we like to do on this show. Can we do it in unison today?
Tony's musical hour. No. Fuck you.
Oh, come on. Come on. For once, there's no gimmick, right? There's not like we're trying to recreate music from decades and decades and decades ago. It's not trying to like orchestrate to a specific fucking feeling. Frank Perry said, I need some music that is of the time, of the now, that is not just like copyrighted stuff. I think there might be one track that is like a legitimate, that is a licensed thing, or it might have just been made by a different person. But for the primary bulk of the fucking soundtrack, it's somebody called John Simon. He's just like one of these guys that has worked on a million fucking things beforehand. He knows people in the industry, he knows good fucking musicians, and it's like, I could fucking gather some people together and make good music that is of the fucking time, and it all is very cohesive and feels very fucking good. You got like a track on the radio that just feels absolutely perfect, the way they open it up. It just feels, on like spot on, and I can't really. I don't know how you feel about the music. It's just like there for you.
I barely noticed it.
Just there, which is probably for the best. It's there when it needs to be there, and then when it needs to shut the fuck up, it shuts the fuck up, which is always good. Well, I mean, not always good, but good for this specific case.
Yeah.
And now if we want to jump into just general filmmaking, is there anything specific you want to start on?
Yeah, no, because I talked earlier about sort of the French New Wave, and specifically Truffaut, and then also I talked about Ingmar Bergman. Something in particular with Bergman, to where I was getting the vibes of a Bergman movie for a good chunk of it, and then I heard them while they were watching a movie, while they were, diddling each other and shit.
Yeah.
They were speaking Swedish, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe that's intentional, or maybe I'm looking too much into it. And then while I'm watching it, as they walk out, oh, that Swedish movie, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and I'm like, oh, they were watching a Bergman movie.
That sure some exciting movie.
What about those Swedes?
Even if not literally audio from a Bergman movie, that is the intent. With that though, Bergman, it always feels like I'm doing him a disservice by saying he has a very workmanly kind of approach to filmmaking, because I do think there are movies where he definitely has a different kind of visual approach. Like Wild Strawberries definitely gets into a bit of like the surreal for some of that, but for the most part, it's very professional. It's very much like he was probably taught by either industry professionals or learned the basics of filmmaking, and how that then played into how he would then go and shoot films. Like, I don't know, there's like a lot of, just like in this movie, a lot of locked off shots, just kind of like looking at people. And while that maybe could be considered like boring, it does feel very old Hollywood meets new Hollywood. The old Hollywood being locked off shots of just people talking and occasionally getting these like vistas. But then the new Hollywood in the sense of we have a lot of naturalistic lighting, lots of just shooting, and like even if we have lights on set, they're meant to like replicate like lights from the room or lights from the sources itself. And then lots of handheld that would go on occasionally.
And that would make sense. It's 1969, shit's about to change, the world's about to change,
and then
the Manson murders are about to fucking happen.
Yeah, or it already happened, who fucking knows.
2 months from when this movie released.
My point is like, then you have that, and then you have the very, very much Hollywood New Wave a bad audio dubbing. The ADR in this movie is dog shit. And I'm not even gonna fucking get on them about that because of the era it was made in. But like, there are just lots of scenes, like the opening in particular, when they're talking.
Oh, rabies my ass.
Yeah, it's very much like just 60s film audio problems, and I'm sure it's not helped by the skung of the fucking VHS audio tracks.
Oh, definitely. I find it kind of charming, but like once again, that all goes back into the whole degraded quality of audio.
It wasn't even as much an insult, just more so an observation.
Yeah, no, I can understand.
Yeah.
Do we want to get into performances? Any performance specifically that you think stands out the most?
I mean, we got basically 4 people for most of the movie. If I can be an asshole up front, I think 3 of the leads are really good, and then one of them is just kind of nothing. Out of our 2 Aryan-coded boys, not Peter, whatever the fuck the other kid's name, he is so nothing.
Won't be for long.
What makes you so sure?
Look at him.
I'm gonna be real. I made notes about all these fucking people, things they did, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Dan's is pretty much, it's empty.
Because he is the one out of all of them that just kind of explicitly just wants to fuck Sandy, and that's all he's interested in.
Yeah.
Peter has some like depth and insecurity and all this kind of shit. The guy who plays Peter, I think, is very good. And I couldn't figure out why I didn't recognize his very odd-looking face the entire movie. And then when it hit me that he is the guy who plays one of the leads in Stephen King's It adaptation, the 90s TV miniseries one, I suddenly remembered his ugly rat tail and why his big-ass mole on his cheek looked so familiar. I think the actress who plays Sandy, oh my god, she's such a perfect bitch.
Okay. There we go. Yeah. Oh. Goddamn stupid bird.
But also, it's one of those things to where I have to be a good human being, and I have to acknowledge what she said from the very beginning. And I'm not going to be like, is she lying or not? Because I'm not going to victim blame.
Yeah.
But also, she lies about a lot, so it does kind of have that thought into your head. But I, at the very least, like to look at it as this kind of thing of she is a victim of sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And as a result, like I said at the very beginning, is a person who needs control over everything and is kind of maybe not necessarily teaching these what seem to be fairly privileged boys about what it is to kind of take control, but she does kind of encourage them in her ways of fucking using people to their advantage and taking advantage of the weak and that kind of stuff. Which, like I said, with the whole ending, I don't necessarily have a problem with it as a concept. It is just the execution makes me feel a little icky in a way that I don't think is, you know, necessarily the most morally conscious thing to do to me. And then we have
Rhoda.
Yeah,
who's
Rhoda.
Like Catherine Burns.
Yeah, she's really good.
She's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, she's really good. And I mean this in the most like objective way possible. She is pitiful enough that I really don't like looking at her. And I don't mean that in like a way of like, oh, I think the actress is like unattractive or whatever like that. I mean that in like a character kind of sense. Like whatever shit she has experienced in life, it's like the combination of her walking up to these people expecting them to treat her well, right? And then constantly going back to them like a wounded seagull.
Yeah,
and expecting
she just wants to be popular.
She just wants to be popular, but all I can see is like so many people I knew growing up in school to where I'm just like, they don't like you, just leave. Not for their sake, for yours.
Oh yeah.
Find people that give a shit about you, and it just becomes maddening, but also once again it's a child.
Yeah,
so I'm not like I think it's effective. In my opinion, I do pity her, but it does seem like it's very much the intention for the audience to just kind of be like, just fucking go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, it plays into that suspense sort of thing where you're like, fucking get out while you still can. She like very like passionately delivers a self-conscious character, and I really like that about her. I wrote down here, it's kind of like her performance and her affect gave me like mixed feelings that kind of like reminisce on like Shelley Duvall's vulnerability crossed with, weirdly enough, like Marlon Brando level of control and like gravitas to the way that she says shit.
I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I agree with it, but I understand what you're saying.
It is a weird combination.
Yeah, I the thing she very much, I guess, gives me the most off of is not an acting performance as much as the writing of a particular character. The way that Carrie is written in the novel of Carrie by Stephen King, you know, she's this frumpish kind of, in the book, she's overtly written as being like overweight and kind of just uncomfortable in her own skin. You know, Sissy Spacek does her own thing with the character, and she's fucking amazing in that movie. But as far as like a book rendition of like how Carrie is in my mind, I looked at that, and that's kind of the place my brain went with that shit.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And it's really weird. Her fucking career at this point is quite literally taking off in multiple kind of directions. There's a whole book. I'm taking a lot of this from an article by The Hollywood Reporter in 2020 February. It's by Scott Feinberg and Scott Johnson. It's called Catherine Burns: The Vanishing of an Oscar-Nominated Actress. If you guys want to find it, maybe we'll slap a link somewhere. But basically, it's a really tough role to perform.
Yeah.
And she's, at this point, she has done work in 1967 for a TV film, The Crucible, which, you know, that's coming out. And then right after that, she's also entering Broadway. She's in like a big Broadway show. And while she's filming, or while she's performing on this Broadway show, she's also filming principal photography for this movie.
Yeah.
So she's going back and forth from this and that. And it's a hard fucking role to play because you have to be so vulnerable. Out of the three of them, or out of the four main characters, she's technically the oldest, but she also has to play like the weakest and most vulnerable person out of them. It's this sort of situation where you're filming something where horrible things are happening to you, and it's not pleasant. It's not easy, and you're going back and forth from one thing to another. I have to have like immeasurable respect for her, right? Because this is the start of her career. It's like, and it's shooting way up. Because this film did get like recognized back in the day.
Yeah.
It ran for a few nominations, like for the Academy Awards and stuff. You know, she was like, she was like this far away from achieving like Academy Award for like Best Supporting Actress. You know, any number of things could have happened. It's steep competition that year. Fucking Midnight Cowboy just came out. Kathy at this point is like relatively obscure. This is her first like made for the big screen film. And, there's the subject matter of the actual film itself. Yeah. It's not really Academy Award winning sort of stuff when there's, well, maybe. I guess I don't really have a huge...
Yeah, you just said Midnight Cowboy and then said it's not Academy... Yes, it is. Yes, it is. For the late 60s, early 70s, yes, it is.
Yeah. But that award eventually went to the lead supporting actress in Cactus Flower, which is, funnily enough, another, like, screwball comedy from the time. This is, like, the point in time where Goldie Hawn is, like, rising up from fucking... Yeah, she was, like, basically a billboard girl for the Laugh-In. And that sort of thing was, like, she was on TV a lot, everybody knew her, lots of people fucking liked her, but she was also kind of viewed as, like, this weird sex object, the dumb blonde character that, that they literally draw the logos for whatever fucking shit onto. And she actually did a really good fucking performance in Cactus Flower, which is lovely to see. It's a really nice success story. So I can understand why Kathy didn't fucking win. That kind of marks, like, more or less the trickling out of her career. She does 2 more theatrical movies. She does some stuff for TV. She ends up on, like, The Waltons for an episode, which everybody in the main cast ends up in one way or another on The Waltons for some fucking reason. But entertainment media was kind of fucking obsessed with weirdly just fucking bullying her in a lot of weird ways.
Entertainment media obsessed with bullying a woman? I don't believe you.
You can read the article, like I said, if you want some, like, assorted fucking... the least of the fucking worst things that they're saying about her, just in regular-ass newspapers for the time. The nicest thing that people had said, aside from, like, Roger Ebert, who just was like, it's a fantastic film, love Kathy, had nothing bad to say about it, ironically is Siskel, who at the time was working for the Chicago Tribune, and wrote, basically, Kathy Burns, not the prettiest, but the most talented. Which just kind of goes to underscore, like, the way people would treat her going forward. That, any success that she has is underpinned with the fact, well, she's not conventionally attractive. And a little fucking jab in the ribs like that.
And I will say, not in defense of Gene Siskel, but for some context. That's an awful thing to say, and you shouldn't have been saying it about a young woman like that. But that's just Gene Siskel.
Yeah.
The amount of shit Roger Ebert had to take under that man for being overweight.
Yeah.
It's
just, and that's, I think it's well intentioned.
No, he's being a no, let me preface, he was being a jackass. Like, it's not okay.
She would do a couple more movies, some shows, and she would end up, like, writing. But slowly but surely, she would kind of, like, disappear from the public eye more and more and more. Every now and again, people would find her, and they'd be like, whatever happened? Whatever happened to your career? Why aren't you, like, do you think it has anything to do with the fact that you're not so attractive, whatever? And they just would find her again and again over the course of decades. Even up until 2019, in the months, weeks, and days, both before and after she was pronounced fucking dead, they were, like, really insistent on, like, trying to get some kind of story out of her.
I'm not calling this a shoulder shrug, because what you're saying is like isn't completely true and awful.
Yeah.
But I just, once again, Cameron, just do a nice little George Lucas prequels dolly in on me. The media treating a woman with disrespect. What?
Yeah, it's one of these things where I gotta find those 2 movies and I gotta watch them and see the last couple of things. I have a habit of finding female actresses that are in, like, 1 or 2 things and then fucking not committing to watching those last couple of things. So I gotta fucking do that one of these days.
Okay.
But real quick, is there any other final thoughts that you got about the film?
Yeah, I guess I do want to just kind of wrap up everything I'm saying.
Okay.
I do want to clarify that for everything I talked about negatively, I loved most of it. Okay. Most of it going into it, I find it to be a really interesting sort of like psychological dive into these 3 people that consistently, You know, she wants control over these boys in reverse want control of her, but she has a bit more power over them. The three of them want control over this girl. They want control over this bird, which is sort of used as a symbol of it. Overall, I do think it's like really fucking great, and I think it's really interesting. The fact that Peter's sort of like final one-on-one conversation with her can come down to you're only unattractive when you start to talk about that psychological shit, i.e. you as a woman are only unattractive to me when you voice your opinion. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. No, I think there's definitely stuff going on in this movie, and I think it's really, really, really good. That being said, I found the overall ending of it in execution to be a bit distasteful.
Yeah, no, it's a good film. It's transgressive. It's fucking. It's really, really good, even if it kind of like challenges shit and then kind of falls on its face in some spots. I really fucking like it, and I'm glad I could track it down, and I'm glad I could show it to you, and I'm glad that all of you folks will soon have a meaningful and easy way to somehow watch this fucking film. You're welcome. I fucking willed it into being, I guess, by talking about it on our shitty fucking YouTube show.
Unless they ban Blu-rays, which in that case sucks to suck. Bye.